A fountain of life is a symbol of God's unending goodness, wisdom, and spirit that continually refreshes and sustains the soul. Just as a spring of water never runs dry, it represents a constant source of renewal, joy, strength, and guidance. In the Bible, it often points to God Himself, His Word, or His wisdom as the well that gives true life, protecting us from spiritual dryness and leading us into peace and vitality. When we say a fountain of life, it usually means source of renewal and strength, an ending supply, life-giving power, joy and vitality. For example, in Proverbs chapter 13 verse 14 says, "The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, turning a person from the snares of death." Wisdom is compared to a fountain because it continually refreshes and protects. So when you hear a fountain of life, think of it as something, usually God, His words, or His wisdom, that is constantly flowing, renewing, and giving true life. Here's a description built around number 1, source of renewal and strength. A fountain of life is a source of renewal and strength that never runs dry. As a flow of water refreshes the body, God's wisdom, love, and presence continually refresh the soul, bringing restoration, peace, and the power to keep going. 2. Unending supply. A fountain of life is an unending supply of God's love, wisdom, and presence, like a springs that never runs dry. It continually gives refreshment, hope, and strength to the soul, sustaining us through every season of life. A fountain of life represents God's living power that nourishes and sustains the soul. Just as water is essential for physical life, His spirit and wisdom are essentials for spiritual life, bringing growth, vitality, and true fulfillment. A fountain of life overflows with joy and vitality, filling the soul with peace, energy, and gladness. Just as fresh water revives the body, God's presence refreshes the heart and makes life flourish. In short, a fountain of life is the source of renewal and strength, an ending supply of God's love and wisdom that never runs dry. It carries life-giving power, nourishing the soul and sustaining us through every season. Overflowing with joy and vitality, it refreshes the heart, restores peace, and fills life with purpose and hope. In Proverbs 13, verse 14, when we say the teaching of the wise, it's godly wisdom, instruction, or counsel. It's guide that comes from someone who fears the Lord and walks in truth. When we say fountain of life, the wisdom is like continual source of refreshment, renewal, and strength. It gives direction that keeps a person spiritually alive and flourishing. When we say turning from the snare of death, wisdom helps us avoid distraction, harmful paths, and the traps of sin. It doesn't just give knowledge, it protects us from danger and keeps us walking in life. The teaching of the wise is a fountain of life, turning a person from snare of death. A fountain of life here means that wise teaching becomes a source of renewal and strength, guiding the heart and refreshing the soul. It is an ending supply of truth that protects us from harmful choices. Carrying life-giving power, it nourishes and sustains us, helping us grow in God's way. Overflowing with joy and vitality, it keeps us safe from the traps of sin and leads us into a flourishing, purposeful life. The teaching of the wise leads us to a pure heart, to wisdom of this world often points us towards selfish gain, but the teaching of the wise, rooted in God's words, lead us towards purity of heart. A pure heart is not free from mistakes, but it is clean before God, sincere and set apart for His purpose. Matthew chapter 5, verse 8. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Meaning, pure in heart, this means having sincerity, integrity, and undivided devotion to God. It's not just outward actions, but inward motives, being genuine, not double-minded or hypocritical. They shall see God is both in presence and future promise. For now, experiencing God's presence, guidance, and peace in life. For eternity, the ultimate blessings of being in God's presence forever. Jesus is teaching that true purity isn't about ritual cleansing or external appearances, but about the condition of the heart. A clean, sincere heart opens the way to deeper fellowship with God. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus describes the kind of people who are truly blessed in God's eyes. Among these blessings is a promise connected to the heart. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Unlike the outward standards of religion, Jesus points to the inward life, what we truly love, desire, and pursue. Purity of heart is about living in sincerity, integrity, and undivided devotion to God. This beatitude assures us that when the heart is clean and focused on Him, we experience the greatest reward, the vision and presence of God Himself. Jesus teaches us that true blessings come from the heart. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, reminds us that when our hearts are sincere and devoted to Him, we experience His presence now and forever. A pure heart opens the way to experience His presence now and forever. A pure heart is more than just doing good outwardly. It's about the inner attitudes and motives of a person. In the Bible, having a pure heart means sincerity, acting honestly without pretending or being hypocritical. Integrity, living consistently with God's values, not just following rules when it's convenient. Undivided devotion to God, loving God above all else without allowing other desires to take His place. Clean motives, doing things for the right reasons, not for recognition, pride, or self-gain. Openness to God, being humble, teachable, and receptive to God's guidance. A pure heart is like a clear window. Nothing blocks the light of God. When your heart is pure, you can see and experience God's presence more fully, both in your daily life and ultimately in eternity. Sincerity is one of the key traits of a pure heart. Honesty in thought and action. Your words, actions, and intentions match. You don't pretend to be someone you're not. Genuine motives. You do good, not for praise or reward, but because it's right and pleasing to God. Authenticity with God and others. You approach God openly and relate to people without masks or hypocrisy. A sincere heart reflects truth and integrity. When your heart is sincere, God sees your devotion, and others can see your love, honesty shining through. Integrity is another essential aspect of a pure heart. Consistency in character. Your actions align with your values, whether anyone is watching or not. Honesty and moral uprightness. You do what is right even when it's difficult or inconvenient. Faithfulness to God's principles. Living according to God's word in all areas of life, not just in public or convenient moments. A person with integrity reflects God's truth through their life. Integrity builds trust, honors to God, and keeps the heart clean, helping us truly see God, as Matthew chapter 5 verse 8 promises. Undivided devotion to God is a central quality of a pure heart. God as first priority. Loving and trusting God above all else. Not letting others' desires, ambitions, or distractions take His place. Single-minded focus. Seeking God's will constantly in thoughts, decisions, and actions. Loyalty and commitment. Staying faithful to God even when life is challenging and tempting circumstances arise. A heart fully devoted to God is free from divided loyalties. When your devotion is undivided, you experience a closer relationship with Him, clarity in your decisions, and the blessings of His presence, as promised. Clean motives are another important aspect of a pure heart. Doing good for the right reasons, acting out of love, obedience, and compassion, not for praise, recognition, or personal gain. Selfless intentions. Your heart seeks to honor God and serve others rather than satisfy selfish desires. Purity in thought and action. Aligning what you think, say, and do with God's values and principles. When your motives are clean, your actions become a true reflection of God's love. A heart with clean motives can experience His presence more fully because nothing in it is hidden or compromised. Openness to God is another essential trait of a pure heart. Humility and teachability. Willing to listen to God's guidance and corrections without pride or resistance. Receptive prayer and worship. Approaching God with a willing heart ready to receive His wisdom, comfort, and direction. Surrendering control, letting go of selfish desires, and trusting God's plan for your life. A heart open to God allows His presence to flow freely. When we are teachable, humble, and surrendered, we can truly see God and experience His guidance and blessings, as Matthew chapter 5 verse 8 promises. Why we trust God? We trust God because He is the only one who is completely faithful, all-knowing, and unchanging. A reminder to trust God completely, not relying on your own understanding, but seeking His guidance in every part of life. When we submit to Him, He directs our path and leads us towards His best for us. Proverbs chapter 3, 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. Full reliance on God, not half-hearted faith. It's a complete surrender of doubts, fears, and plans to Him. Don't rely solely on your own reasoning or perspective. Human wisdom is limited. Include God in every decision, big or small. Seek His guidance actively. God will guide your life in the right direction, helping you avoid unnecessary obstacles and leading you towards His purpose. It's a verse about trust, guidance, and surrender, reminding us that leaning on God rather than ourselves leads to clarity and directions in life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, a call to rely fully on God, giving Him our doubts, fears, and plans, and finding confidence and peace in His guidance. Lean not on your own understanding, trust God's wisdom, not just your own. God sees what we cannot, so lean on Him. Stop overthinking. Let God guide you. Your understanding is limited, and He is perfect. Choose God's perspective over your own. He will make your path straight. I promise that when we trust and follow God, He will guide our steps, remove obstacles, and lead us in the right directions. God will guide your steps and clear the way. Follow Him, and He'll lead you on the right path. Trust God, He makes the path ahead clear. With God, your journey is guided and straight. He directs your steps and removes the obstacles. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In every part of your life, seek His guidance and surrender your plans to Him. When you do, He will guide your steps, clear obstacles, and lead you on the right path, filling your journey with confidence, peace, and direction. How to trust God. Trusting God is a process. It grows over time as you experience His faithfulness. Here's a clear practical guide. Number 1, know God personally. Read the Bible or understand His character. Loving, faithful, and wise. Spend time in prayer, not just asking, but listening and reflecting. Number 2, surrender control. Acknowledge that you don't have all the answers. Let go of trying to control every outcome and invite God into your decisions. 3, start small. Begin by trusting Him in daily things, decisions, relationships, or worries. Notice how He works in small ways. It builds your confidence. 4, remember past faithfulness. Recall moments when God guided or provided for you in the past. Use these memories as reminders that He is trustworthy. Pray for help to trust. Ask God to increase your faith and help you to rely on Him. Trust is often strengthened by international prayer. 6, act in faith. Sometimes trust grows by taking steps forward, even when the path isn't unclear. Obedience, even in small things, shows God to rely on Him. 7, surround yourself with encouragement. Talk with people who live by faith. Listen to testimonies, sermons, or devotionals that reinforce God's reliability. Trust isn't about having no doubts. It's about choosing to rely on God despite them. Believing He is faithful and in control. A reminder that trusting God means moving forward even when the path isn't clear, relying on His wisdom and guidance rather than our own understanding. Trusting God is having a true faith. That isn't the absence of doubts. It's choosing to trust God's wisdom, love, and timing, even when we don't see the full picture. Trusting God is a reminder that even when life feels unclear or unpredictable, we can trust God's guidance, wisdom, and faithfulness to lead us through. Hold on to faith. Even when you can't see the way in the unknown, trust God's plan. The teaching of the wise make us pure heart, so we have to trust Him. He knows everything. God sees what we cannot, and His wisdom is far greater than ours. He is faithful. God always keeps His promises and never abandons His children. He gives peace. Trusting Him removes fear, worry, and anxiety because we rest in His care. He provides. God knows our needs and supplies them at the right time. He is our refuge in struggles and uncertainties. He is our safe place and strength.